Hello, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my Voyager reading blog. So if you're new to my channel, hello, welcome. If you're not, then you likely know that one of my very ambitious, overly ambitious goals for this year is to read all the books in the Outlander series. So there are currently 8 published, and the 9th one is coming out in November. So I'm basically trying to read them all in time to read the new one when it comes out. Voyager is book 3 in the series, and it is now June. So I have a lot of catching up to do, but as I chronicled my reading of Dragonfly and Amber, this is me chronicling my reading of book 3, Voyager. Just kind of as a disclaimer, there will undoubtedly be spoilers in this video because I don't know how to talk about Outlander without spoiling it. Bear in mind though that the books first came out in the early 90s, they're almost as old as me, which is old by booktuber standards. I'm 31, and yeah, and there's also the TV show. So yes, there will be spoilers. I'm sorry. If you haven't read the book and don't want to be spoiled, I'd maybe hold off on watching this video for a little while, at least. If you've watched the series, you probably know everything that happens anyway, so welcome. That's my really rambly introduction to this vlog. I'm a little tired, not gonna lie. I decided to take advantage of the fact that I had on a little bit of makeup from filming this morning to film the intro to this clip. I should have probably filmed it yesterday before I actually started the book, but I overestimated how much you could get done in 3 hours because I basically told myself once I finished up with work, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do some writing, I'm going to get my video scheduled, I'm gonna eat dinner, and then I'm gonna log on at 9 for Noelle, the Roomies Digest, and Rachel's Truth or Dare Extraordinaire Readathon, and just stay up and read. Well, the only thing I managed to get done in those 3 hours was to write, and then I was on the Readathon live stream until nearly 2 in the morning when I finally decided I need to sleep. So I'm a little tired, but because of the readathon and the live reading sprint, I did get through roughly 100 pages of this book last night. So I figured I would film the intro clip and I'd tell you a little bit about where I am currently in the book, how I'm feeling, all that jazz. So it's picking up right where we left off with Dragonfly and Amber, which in Dragonfly we found out that Jamie had survived Culloden because Claire finds out that somehow Jamie has survived Culloden. So you literally start book 3 with, surprise, surprise, Jamie surviving Culloden. And it's actually, I think, one of the funnier, opening chapters of the book, considering everything that is going on. Jamie is sprawled out on the battlefield for Culloden, and he thinks he's dead, and it's literally him debating whether he's in heaven, which he thinks is unlikely because he doesn't deserve heaven, contemplating whether he's in hell, but he thinks that having an itchy nose probably isn't worthy of hell for punishment, or is he in purgatory, and then he slowly realizes oh shit, I'm alive, how? And it's just it was a really funny moment, but that funny moment was kind of eclipsed by him all of a sudden realizing that he's alive and now has to live without Claire because he sent Claire and his unborn child through the stones. So it was within a few pages I went from chuckling to almost sobbing because him thinking about Claire was just heartbreaking, and I'm a sucker. I cry easily. I cry at commercials, people. It is what it is. But yeah, so basically at this point in the book, for the most part, you've been with Jamie, kind of figuring out what's happening to him in the Highlands in the aftermath of Culloden. He's once again an outlaw, surprise, surprise, and he's surviving, and you're finding out how he I guess, escapes execution because he's known and kind of notorious as Red Jamie. So you find out how he escapes his execution, and then how he kind of lives as an outlaw, which is very similar to how he started in book 1, because he was also living as an outlaw then. So it's kind of like it's come full circle, and you see him interacting with his sister Jenny and with Fergus and all of those characters, and oh my god, my heart, poor Fergus. That I remember seeing that scene in the TV series, and it hurts. And then there's a moment of humor. Like, Diana Gabaldon is kind of good at interjecting this almost dark humor at moments when you wouldn't expect it. But yeah, so up until this point, really more Jamie focused. Now, we do have a little bit of information on Claire at this point. She's in 1968, and as I said, it picks up basically where book 2 left off, which is that she's discovered Jamie has somehow survived. But to be honest, the most interesting parts of the Claire story as of right now to me are the flashbacks to basically what happened after she has returned, come back through the stones after being missing for 3 years, and her relationship with Frank Randall. And there's some like really interesting scenes between the two of them, because she is still mourning the loss of Jamie and still very much in love with him, and so they're living as husband and wife, but really only in name only. And it seems like Frank wants more. He definitely has like fallen in love with Brianna in particular, and they just have some tussles, man. Like they have some moments, and there's just a lot to unpack there. So as far as Claire goes, that's been the part that's been most interesting, is seeing her life immediately after she's left Jamie behind. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. The like depressing thing is that I stayed up until basically 2 a.m., read roughly 100 pages, and I've barely made a dent in this book. Like, I've read just about 100 pages, and it's not even 10% of the book. So I have a ways to go. We'll see how far I get. There's another part of Reader Dare Extraordinaire tonight, which I think starts at 6 p.m. Eastern my time. So if I get through everything else that I've had to get through for today, then I will probably try to read another 150 pages of that tonight. We shall see. But that's where we are. So we're gonna go. I'll talk to you later. Ciao. Hello, checking in from day 2 of Read or Dare Extraordinaire. We're currently in the middle of a reading sprint. There are like 18 minutes left, and I want to say that it's nearly 11 p.m. at night, but since I just finished reading part 3 of Voyager, I figured it was probably worth a little bit of a check-in. Mo just sang her June TBR to Bohemian Rhapsody, and it was iconic. So yeah, it's been a hoot, not gonna lie. But as for the book itself, part 3 was largely from the perspective of Jamie and what he's going through. So he's a prisoner in Ardsmuir, and he's kind of taken on this like leadership role among the other prisoners from the Jacobite Rebellion, and we see John Grey again, which is fascinating. John Grey is one of those characters that I know he's gonna pop up a lot over the course of the next few books, because from what I can tell from the TV show, he's kind of an integral part of some of the backstory with Jamie, but their like connection is an interesting one, because he's again an English officer, and again he has feelings and desires when it comes to Jamie himself. So that's all been very interesting to kind of see the two of them forming some sort of friendship, or at least some sort of mutual understanding. And yeah, but I will have to say, it's One of the things that I've noticed in reading this part is kind of the parallelism that's going on between Frank and Jamie with certain things that pertain to Claire. Like, and there are two prime examples that kind of stand out to me at this point. One actually happened in the previous section, I think. So Claire was having a flashback to when Brianna was a baby, and she just finished nursing Brianna, and this might be a little explicit, just as an FYI, but she just finished feeding Brianna, and Brianna wouldn't take her other breast. And so Frank ends up doing it in this, like, really weird, like, sort of erotic scene, and she seems to enjoy it. And we're kind of led to believe that that's the first, like, real intimacy that they've exchanged, basically, since Claire has gotten back. But now in this section that I just read, Jamie had a dream where he almost did the exact same thing to Claire. So that was a little bit weird. And then there was another point when Frank is talking to Claire after she's kind of, like, said that she's gonna throw in the towel when it comes to, like, going to medical school, and he gives her this whole, like, inspiring speech about basically, like, you know your purpose and how rare that is, and, like, to follow your path type of thing. And then Jamie has a moment in this section where he's also talking about how, like, Claire just knew her purpose and reason for being type of thing. So these two parallel moments with the two men that love Claire. So as I said, I am 200 pages in, roughly. We have several hours of the reading, like, the readathon to go. So hopefully I can make it close to 300 by the end of the night before I, like, turn in and say peace to everyone. But yeah, that's where we stand with Voyager. And I will check in with you probably tomorrow, because it'll likely be way too late for me to do another update at the end of this. But yeah. Alright, signing out for the night. Talk to you later. Hello, good afternoon, checking in with you guys, because I didn't check in last night after I finished reading. As I had predicted, it was way too late to, like, put on a camera and try to string together coherent sentences after I got off of Reader Dare Extraordinaire. I think it went until 2 a.m. Eastern, and I kind of ducked out around 1:15, because by that point my eyes were feeling really grainy and, like, I wasn't seeing the page clearly. But I did end up reading part 4 of Voyager, which is called, I think, the Lake District. And again, this is a section that is primarily focused on Jamie and the life he is now leading without Claire. So he manages to get a pardon because he had been declared a traitor because of his involvement in sort of leadership status within the Jacobite rebellion. So he ends up working as, like, a groom for this English noble. He's, like, moved up a little bit in the world. Like, he's not a prisoner anymore, and being a groom on this estate seems to be a somewhat plush gig, and he has avoided having to be shipped to the United States for, like, an indentured servant position. So he's kind of sitting cushy, sitting pretty. But it's also an icky situation because one of the, like, young women on the estate where he works has decided that Jamie is going to be the one to take her virginity. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the whole social construct of virginity and this idea of someone being able to take it from you and all that, but this character does. She wants to sleep with Jamie, and in order to get him to do this, she blackmails him, and her sort of blackmail literally endangers the lives of his family in Lalabrook, his tenants, and all of that. So yeah, Jamie being Jamie puts himself at the service of this young woman quite literally to save his family from being branded a traitor and all that would entail. But it is kind of an icky situation, and like coercion of any sort and like non-consent type things get a little icky. But yeah, so that happens. But like thing is that this woman ends up getting pregnant by Jamie, and Jamie has a son named Willie, who he doesn't like disclose to anyone is his son. But let me tell you, the scene where Jamie says goodbye to Willie when he's decided that he needs to leave the estate because he's too worried about people figuring out that he is Willie's father, he leaves, and that goodbye scene, Diana Gabaldon does goodbye scenes really well. Like, really well. Because when you think about it, I ugly sobbed through the farewell scene in Dragonfly and Amber between Jamie and Claire, and I knew it was coming. Like, I knew it had to happen. And I didn't ugly sob here, but I definitely needed to grab a Kleenex because there was definitely a little snot and quite a few tears running down my face, and it was just really touching. Like, Jamie has basically lost 2 children. 3 if you count the child that was lost via a miscarriage in Dragonfly and Amber. So this man who would be like the perfect father because he's just so loyal and affectionate and kind and gentle and all of these things with the people he loves just has no luck at all. Like, none whatsoever. So yeah, basically that whole section is really predominantly about Jamie and his like interactions with this family and his son, and finally him leaving. But there are these few snippets of like Claire, Brianna, and Roger in the present, which are really interesting because they're doing some really fine detective work, if I do say so myself, and they like find the document with Jamie's pardon, and so they're kind of trying to track him down. And I feel like this is where you start to see that like Roger is wondering if Claire is gonna go back, and it seems like Claire is starting to figure it out, like that logically, like if she goes back currently, like it would be like a couple years after the pardon and all of this stuff, and so like those cogs are starting to turn in people's heads. But yeah, so mostly still in Jamie's head at this point, following his life with some like small interruptions to find out about what Claire and Brianna and Roger are doing. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. I'm really enjoying it. I know that day 3 of Reader Dare Extraordinaire happens this afternoon, this evening. I want to say it might start at 6 p.m. again tonight, so I might try to like pop in for at least a portion of it to see if I can get through a little bit more reading before like I decide to call it a night. I don't have work tomorrow because doctor's appointments, but I would kind of like to read another 150 pages or so this weekend, because if I do that, I'm at like a good chunk of the way through the book. But yeah, we'll kind of see, because part of me also just wants to sit down and watch movies. Like, I had big plans to watch movies for a good chunk of the weekend, and instead I've been reading, which is not a bad thing, and it's really a, like, first world problem. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I would like to read a little bit more of this bad guy, or bad boy. But yeah, I would like to read a little bit more of this bad boy tonight. We'll see how far I get. If I could get to around 350, 400, I would consider Reader Dare Extraordinaire like an exceptional success. Okay, so reading update, because we're in one of the reading sprints. I think this is the second one, maybe the third one, for round 3 of Reader Dare Extraordinaire, and I just read the like
final fight between Claire and Frank before his death. And whew, oh man, okay, so first of all, he's racist? Was that in the TV show? I don't remember that being in the TV show, but he's racist. When that happened, that was like a literal jaw on the floor type moment. Like, oh shit. Did not see that coming. It's because he believes Claire is having an affair with Joe. And he makes some comment about how he doesn't want Bree sleeping with a black man like her mother, except Claire isn't cheating on Frank. And it was gross. Like, I'm not Team Frank. I've never been Team Frank. But that was gross. And then, for him to be like, oh, by the way, I'm leaving you permanently and I'm taking my daughter with me. It's like, dude, hold the phone. She's not yours. Like, she's not. She's Claire's and Jamie's. I know you've raised her. I know that's important. But how effing dare you decide you're just gonna take her daughter to another country because he's planning to leave to go to England for a post in Cambridge, and he's just like, she's coming with me. You can't be a mother to her because of your work, so I'm gonna put her in a boarding school. Like, I am like irate, which is why I had to come in just to like talk about that, because I've never liked Frank. I've always had issues with him, but he's racist. Whew, man, that scene. Okay, that made me really angry. And I mean, he dies. Like, you know he dies because basically from book 2, Dragonfly, you know he's dead. But I couldn't even be sorry he was dead. I was just so mad at what he just put Claire through. And Claire is just like, I did love you once. Like, I did. It's not my fault I love Jamie, although she never says that. But she's like, I did love you once, and this is how... Oh. Claire deserved better than Frank. Like, I know he stayed with her when she came back, even though she was pregnant with another man's child, and that he raised that child as his own and loved her. But, like, this is a man who's a racist, who's basically planning to just whisk away Bree to another continent out of nowhere, and who has had no less than 6 mistresses over the course of their, like, reunion since Bree. So, dude, you did her dirty. It's gross. It's gross. I'm disturbed. I'm upset. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna continue reading. I think we have like another 20-ish minutes in the sprint. So hopefully I'll check in with you guys later. But yeah, I'm just... Frank Randall, man. Not a fan. Not a fan at all.
Hello, we are checking in, or we being me, because I finished Voyager, and I really enjoyed it. I would say that I probably still prefer Outlander book 1, but not by much. Like, I had a really fantastic time with this book overall. I think it's probably going to be a like 4.5 star rating for me, which I think is the same thing that I gave Dragonfly and Amber as well. I don't know if maybe it's just not a 5-star, partly because there's like a nostalgia with Outlander at this point, but needless to say, or maybe I do need to say, I really, really enjoyed it. Like, I had a good time. This is a book that kind of has everything. I mean, you have Scotland, you have steam, you have pirates, you have a seafaring voyage, you have marriages, you have like danger and adventure, and it's just a load of fun. Like, it's a great time being in Jamie and Claire's world and seeing their relationship continue to evolve and see how they, like, interact with the different people that they come into contact with. So, I really, really have had a good time. I honestly don't remember at what point I last, like, checked in, because I kind of just sat and read and just enjoyed the last few hundred pages, I think, without having checked in. But like I've said a million times, it was just a lot of fun. And I mean, I'm kind of impressed by how much of the book actually takes place at sea. I think when I checked, it was a few hundred pages, close to like 1/3 of this book. And like, considering kind of like the logistical and considering the like logistical constraints of that, like, you're limiting the number of people that your characters can interact with, the places they can go, because although the ship is moving and traveling thousands of miles, like, hello, they're still on the ship, so not much room to move around, like, literally. They can't find places to hook up. So, like, it's pretty impressive. It kind of reminds me of the, like, constraints that, like, Hitchcock used to put on himself with certain films, like with Rear Window, where he was filming out of one room. And so I'm kind of impressed by it. And I mean, if you're someone who wants, like, to learn more about being at sea or to be in that kind of element, like if you really want something that has this kind of sea element, this like sailor pirate-ish adventure type thing, like, this is your book. It's a big chunk of the book and it's a lot of fun. to read in July.